Entertainment Sword here, and I'm back to talk about Marvel's Secret Invasion Season 1, Episode 6, and my thoughts on the final episode of the season. Well, that was a pointless episode. I mean, it was boring, it was rushed. The ending of the episode just seems, well, I wouldn't say pointless, but terrible. Like, okay, you want to do that with Fury? Like, we all knew where Fury's going to end up. I get that because, the whole trailer about the, Captain Marvel's new film. But, man, it felt so boring to watch. I mean, there was a fight scene in this episode that's supposed to be the, pinnacle for one character and the ending of another, and it just fucking felt like a struggle to get through. The CGI as well was awful, just awful, and yeah, the whole episode it felt rushed and pointless, and the fact that this series as a whole has barely got any traction, if any, actually. It just seems like a massive waste of time. Like, I know I am never going to watch this series again. Like, never. So what was the point making this? You've damaged Fury to the point of no return now. I mean, after Fury got his eye cut out by a cat, that was going to be a very hard, job trying to bring Fury back from being, well, a ridiculous character at that point. Which again, he was after he had his eye ripped out by a cat. But this series has done major damage to Nick Fury's character. Major. And I don't think the character Nick Fury survives this. You're never going to fucking, want to see Nick Fury on the screen again. I certainly don't. I'm sorry, he's just not a good character anymore. He just seems whiny and annoying. And, yeah. I mean, there's a scene in this episode with Nick Fury that I can't go into until we get to spoilers. But he says something so fucking ridiculous. It was just, I just don't get it. Like, why? Why would you damage this character? To the writers of Marvel, you're all banging on about how you want to see black characters succeed. And you had Nick Fury, who was a black character who was succeeding. People loved the character. People fucking saw him as a badass. And yet, you have damaged his character on multiple occasions. To the point, he is just not a major character anymore. He is seen as a joke. For fuck's sake, every time he's got that eye patch on, you're just reminding of the cat ripping it out. How the fuck are you supposed to respect a character like that? You can't. So this show, which Disney wasted a shit ton on, is a failure. And this episode was a joke. It was terrible. It was boring. And at the end, it just seems pointless. So, what would I give this out of 10? It's a 0. I can't give it a single point. I can't. It's terrible. I am never going to come back to watch this show. Never. You want people to come back to a show, you need to have a fantastic ending. You really do. Because if you don't have a great ending, then why am I going to slog through 5 other episodes just to get to a pointless ending? Why? Same shit happened with Game of Thrones. Why would you watch all of those seasons of Game of Thrones if we're going to end up at season 6? Or was it 7 or 8? I don't know. Sorry, I lost a lot of fucking respect for Game of Thrones after season 8. But yeah, it was just, I had hope for this show. I did, okay? I liked Nick Fury. I kind of thought it would be good to see a spy thriller with Nick Fury in. I thought it would be interesting. But it really wasn't. It was just pointless at the end. So, it's a 0 out of 10 from me. I wouldn't waste my time watching this show if I were you. If you haven't watched the show, just don't bother. Because nobody else has. This show is a bomb. This show is a failure. And it's just going to be left behind. It was just a waste of money. And it's great to see Disney are losing money now. Because they waste so much money on these projects. Maybe they'll start respecting the fans. Maybe they'll stop wasting money on failures. I don't know. But yeah. So, I guess we should do a spoiler section. Not really much happened, but let's do it. If you don't want to hear spoilers, leave 2, 1. So, what happens in this episode? I just want to cut through it quick. I really don't want to take that much time. It was really pointless to me. So, the episode starts off with Nick Fury talking to his wife. Apparently this is the first time she's ever received a phone call from him because Nick was too gutless to call her all the other times. I don't know why. I don't know why these two are in a relationship because it obviously looks like they never really connected, but apparently at the end they just connect. Just fuck off. So Nick's asking for advice and to make sure she's okay. She says she's fine. Blah, 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 blah. And, you know, make sure she's alright and then lets her go. And then we get to Nick Fury making it to the Skrulls camp. Kills the 2 Russian, or at least Skrull Russians at the front of the gate. And heads into the camp where you start to see the effects of radiation on him. And he meets up with Gravik. And we get this scene between them both where Gravik is, you know, well, he's kind of happy to see Fury, but at the same time angry. He admired Fury, he looked up to him, he was his hero. But when Fury apparently didn't, you know, fulfill his deal and his promise, you know, he keeps saying that was just a step too far for him. Not the fact he was telling him to kill people, because apparently the face Gravik uses is the face of the first person he killed. And he's always regretted that because he had a family and whatever. And Nick's kind of like, I get it, I shouldn't have used you. Probably should have done something better. I should have found you a world. And I'm watching this thinking, Mars is right there. It just needs terraforming. It's like, it's basically like Earth. It's just, it has different kind of problems on Mars than it does on Earth. But again, it's just like they keep saying Earth is the only planet for the Skrulls when it's a fucking huge galaxy out there, and you're telling me you can't find one fucking planet, Fury. And while Nick and Gravik having this conversation, we have got Rhodey Skrull Rhodey trying to convince the president to nuke the fuck out of Russia and start World War III, where there's a female admiral saying we should kind of, you know, make sure this was actually the Russians that attacked and, you know, there was no funny business or somebody trying to blame Russia to start a nuclear war. And I just thought the scene was kind of stupid. It's like, yeah, starting a nuclear, you know, genocide, you don't rush into that sort of thing. Like, it makes no sense. If you're going, again, you have this Skrull Rhodey right in front of the president. So you have never had an opportunity to grab the president, knock him out and take his place. It kind of seems if you take over the president's job, you've literally gotten your war. He's on his own, you're a Skrull. I mean, it's there for the fucking taking you. Oh my god, this fucking episode is so fucking stupid. When the bad guy's just so fucking stupid. Anyway, Rhodey manages to convince the president to attack the Russians because of the fact there's evidence of Skrulls working with Russians. You know, the fake, plan that got sent to the president about the Russians working with the Skrulls. So the president believes it, orders a strike on Russia, and Rhodey's just there to make sure that the Admiral gives the president his nuclear options. Anyway, back to the Fury Gravik talk. I will give this episode one credit, and the series as a whole. The guy playing Gravik, he is a good actor. I really do like him. So I hope he gets cast in something better, and where he can actually show more of his acting skills, hopefully. So Fury explains that to Gravik why he couldn't find a planet for the Skrulls. Apparently he's looked and there just wasn't any, which is ridiculous, but there you go. So he wanted to keep his promise. So what he wanted to do was find them somewhere safe on Earth and try to convince humanity to accept the Skrulls as refugees, basically. And apparently it's easier to use a couple of million people than it is to convince a couple of billion people that the Skrulls are friendly. Even though they're not. But anyway, Fury gets on with what he's there for, which is to hand over the Harvester to Gravik to stop the war. So, but as I said last week, the Harvester, it was Captain Marvel's powers. That was, and apparently some of the Avengers powers as well, but they only mention Captain Marvel because again they have to remind us of that fucking character. Stupid, but there you go. So Fury gives over the Harvester, and Gravik makes sure that it's genuine. It is. And then Gravik heads into the machine and turns it on and gets injected with all Captain Marvel and the rest of the Avengers powers. And then we find out that Fury isn't Fury, it's Gaia, pretends to be Fury, and she has also taken the Harvester, and now she has all the same powers as Gravik. And we have this fight between them both with bad CGI, and it just seemed really strange the way they were fighting with each other. There were characters that kind of didn't make sense, the powers that they would have. Like, they had some of the Guardians of the Galaxy's powers, which kind of seems weird since they were rarely on that planet. I mean, I get that Nick sent the Skrulls to go to every battle where the Avengers were, but yeah, the Guardians of the Galaxy were never part of the Avengers, so why would they have the... Anyway, so they had this weird fight with each other, using some of the Avengers' powers, but you don't see Captain America powers, or you don't see Iron Man powers. And there was one power that didn't make sense. How the fuck can you use Doctor Strange's powers? I don't get how you could use his powers like with his DNA. That's why the whole DNA thing doesn't make sense to me. Like, I get it. You're you know, if you're the X-Men, your DNA is where your powers come from. If you're Captain America, that's where your powers come from. But Doctor Strange had to learn his powers. He didn't just get them. So how would getting his DNA work? It didn't make sense. But yeah, they just use all the random Avengers powers, and then by the end of the fight, Gravik pretty much says she's not gonna kill him. She's just like her father. She'll try to find a peaceful solution. And then Gaia uses Captain Marvel's heat ray or something and kills Gravik. And the fight ends way too quick. And the kill scene on Gravik, yeah, way too quick again. Like, you get a few seconds of Gravik and that was it. So, again, pointless. Whilst this fight was going on, and again, Gaia wins, you had Nick Fury working with the British SIS woman to knock out all the president's security and to finally get the president to cancel the nuclear attack on Russia by revealing Rhodey as a Skrull. Now, we are literally heading to the deadline where the Americans are going to nuke Russia and start a holocaust on the planet. Why are you wasting time trying to convince the president that Rhodey is a fucking Skrull? Shoot him! You don't even have to kill him. Shoot him in the leg. Cut off a finger. Like, the British woman had him by the fucking throat, and you didn't just cut him a little bit to show he's an alien? Wouldn't that be enough to prove to the American president that the guy telling him to nuke Russia is an enemy? It was such a stupid fucking scene and was way too fucking long. Again, Fury, shoot him, it's over. But we had to have the pointless fucking scene where Fury's talking to the president and talking to Rhodey. It was dumb. It was pointless. And then, by the end, Rhodey, or Skrull Rhodey, grabs a gun and Fury shoots him and kills him, revealing that he's a Skrull. The president ends the nuclear attack on Russia, and the Skrull's plan is pretty much destroyed. Oh, and Gaia frees all of the people the Skrulls kidnapped from the Skrull base. I don't understand why none of them are not feeling the radiation. They all seem to be walking okay, unlike Fury at the beginning. I know it was Gaia, but she was acting. So why are the humans just walking out of a fucking nuclear, facility where there's radiation everywhere and they all seem fine? I don't know. So, yeah. The war's won. The Skrulls who were left have pretty much gone into hiding. And the president goes on air and calls and does a speech telling the world it wasn't Russia that attacked him. It wasn't America that attacked the Russians. It was the Skrulls. And the president has said all aliens are now going to be considered lethal enemies and will be killed. And then the president apparently sends hit squads around the world to kill all the Skrulls they know of. And Fury then rings up the president and says the dumbest fucking thing I think I've heard Fury say in a very long time. He says, "Why did you say that hateful speech?" It's like, what? The Skrulls were about to kill humanity. Were about to kill us all so they could take the planet over. And you're saying, whoa, Mr. President, why are you being so hard on the Skrulls? Because they nearly destroyed us. Because people died. These people, and I get it, they're not all bad, but there's a couple that want to kill us. Maybe we should be a little bit concerned. But hateful speech? That is such SJW bullshit. Fuck off. The real Fury would have said, Mr. President, we don't want to make the Skrulls our enemy. There are people who would want to work with us. Not say hateful speech. Bullshit. But the president's not having any of it, and he says, listen, if you want to work with the Skrulls, okay, piss off, back off, get off the planet and piss off back with the Skrulls. And so Fury just says, well, that's good for a one-term president to say. I mean, fuck off with that shit. Enough. But yeah, Fury just hangs up the phone. The president doesn't change his mind. His hit squads are still going around the world. Oh, and Fury does mention the fact that some of the people that they're killing turn out to be real humans, because apparently they got a gun through security at number 10 and killed the British Prime Minister, who turned out to be real. I don't know how the fuck that's possible, especially if it's a rogue person. Like, do you know the amount of fucking security that is at number 10? And you're telling me some... I mean, again, this is what the left want to say. It's like some right-wing nutcase. And he does say that a right-wing nutcase killed the president, Prime Minister. How the fuck would he get through security? Ugh. Enough. So, that all happens. Fury gets ready to leave. He says his goodbyes to his wife. Heads to their house, leaves his ring, and then heads up back to the ship. I should mention the Gaia crap, shouldn't I? Gaia ends up making the same deal with the SIS British woman. They'll both work with each other to make humanity safe and the Skrulls safe. But unlike Fury and Talos, Gaia and the British woman, they don't understand where they're both coming from. They're not friends, they're just allies. And that is it. If one of them becomes a threat to the other one, they'll both kill each other if they have to. And I thought that was an okay scene. But before Fury, but that ends, and so she's going to work with British intelligence and help the world, basically. Anyway, so Fury's about to head off back to work on the project he was working on before. The Earth Defense System, whatever, with the Skrulls. So hang on. So the president's just declared war on the Skrulls, and yet the Skrulls and Fury are making a defense for Earth. Okay, maybe the humans are involved. I don't fucking notice it. I don't care. So before Fury leaves, his wife turns up. And, you know, she wants to say a proper goodbye because they weren't exactly happy with each other when Fury left their house. She wants to get Fury to acknowledge that she's not human. She wants Fury to accept her for what she really is, a Skrull. And Fury does. They kiss each other and then head back to Fury's project, where apparently she's going to help him with a Skrull... Krill peace talks, and I guess that's going to be done in another series or something, and they head off, and that's how the episode ends. Terrible episode, couldn't give a shit. I'm not watching this series again. It's just a waste of time. It was a waste of time, and I'm just kind of pissed off that I gave it a chance. I should have just left it. And that's my review. If you like the review, give it a like. If you dislike the review, give it a dislike. And if you like my content, do think of subscribing. And if you have a comment, I will try to get back to it. Entertainment War Soldier, bye.